Good evening. Today is Wednesday, June 12th. This is a special education committee meeting with two agenda items. My name is Nicole Kahn, and I'd like to start with roll call. Please state your role and name, starting to my left.
Andrea Mandel, Director of District Communications and Esteemed Program.
Anthony Devlin, Director of Special Services.
Andy Sanko, Superintendent.
Nicole Crawford, Director of Elementary Education.
Good evening, Al Funk, Director of Secondary Education.
Bob Hickey, School Board.
Ann Horner, School Board.
Ed Tate, School Board.
Linda Stone, School Board.
Kathy McCarthy, Tech Integration.
Yota Pali, School Board.
And over to the left.
Ron Spring, Director of HR.
Tony Rapp, Director of Business Administration.
John Lawrence, looks like that's the right name.
Great, thank you. Happy last full day of school to all our Council Rock students and families today. I had the honor last evening, along with I think everyone in the room here and several of the board colleagues, to attend both Council Rock North and South's graduation ceremonies last night. It was a wonderful event on both ceremonies. Congratulations to the class of 2024 and all their future endeavors. I'd like to congratulate here in our room Mr. Devlin and Mr. Hidalgo, who's not here this evening, but also at seniors from Council Rock that graduated. Thank you to all the Council Rock community, staff members, administrators. It was my first opportunity as a board member to attend both, and I thought it was a seamless and wonderful event. So at this time, I'd like to turn over to Mr. Al Funk and Mr. Crawford.
All right.
Thank you.
Ms. Khan. I would echo those words. I thought the commencement exercises were wonderful, and I think it's something that we do an exceptional job here at Council Rock School District, and certainly all the best to our graduates as they move on to greener pastures. Okay, so a quick reminder that for the most accurate and reliable information concerning our district, please refer to resources, websites, and social media platforms managed by the Council Rock School District. We advise the community to exercise caution when relying on the accuracy of social media and ask the community to verify any social media content with the district for accuracy. If you question what you are seeing, need a fact check, or additional details on a matter, please reach out to the district directly. Our contact information is readily available on our website at www.crsd.org. And as mentioned, we have two items for tonight's Education Committee meeting. Firstly, we are happy to have representatives from Hanover Research Corporation with us via Zoom tonight. And they will be reviewing the full-day kindergarten survey results, going over some of the key findings. As you know, that survey was available to all Council Rock stakeholders from May 20th and closed on June 2nd. So Hanover has had some time to apply some analytics and come up with a summary, and they will be providing that for the board and the general community tonight. And certainly they will be available to answer any questions the board may have related to the survey. And then secondly, we have Mr. Anthony Devlin and Dr. Tom Barnes, who will speak a little bit about Penn data. So with that, I will kick it over to my elementary colleague, Mrs. Crawford.
Thank you, Mr. Funk. And I'd like to begin by saying that this first agenda item is a very important one. As he already shared, the Hanover team has worked very hard to implement the community survey, and tonight's meeting is about giving them the opportunity and their team to present the results, share the analytics related to the survey, and answer questions from the school board. And I think that's a really important piece in the full-day kindergarten exploration process. So at this time, we are going to distribute the hard copies of the reports already shared with the school board. And those are the reports that they're going to be referencing during our session this evening. And at this time, we're going to bring up the team on the screen. And they are going to kick things off by introducing themselves to all of us, as well as their positions. And then they are going to start to work through each of the items on these reports. And again, as Mr. Funk already shared, we are happy to give the opportunity for them to answer any questions specifically relating to the survey. So at this time, I believe Ms. Jennifer Campbell is going to begin.
Yes, thank you, Nicole. Hi, I'm Jennifer Campbell. I serve as the content director here at Hanover. What that means is that I work both with our members externally and then internally with our research methodology teams. And I'll allow the rest of my team to go ahead and introduce themselves as you may hear them respond to any questions that come up. So I'll pass it over to Matt Ragone.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having us this evening. My name is Matt Ragone. I'm the Senior Director for K-12 Research here at Hanover. Nice of you to have us tonight. I'll pass it over to Dara.
Hi, my name is Dara Praise, and I am the Survey Research Director here at Hanover. I'm excited to be partnering with you all, and I look forward to answering any of the questions that you have. I will turn it over to Julie.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Julie Shenefield. I'm a relationship director here at Hanover. So my main role is to work alongside Jennifer, but focusing on making sure that districts are maximizing the partnership that they have with Hanover and just their overall satisfaction with the partnership.
Thank you. As I go ahead and pull up what we'll be talking through today, I am happy to share that this survey had a very strong response rate from both parents and the community compared to surveys that we've done collecting perceptions for implementing program changes. And this survey had a very robust response rate. And so we were really pleased to see the responses that came in and at the rate that they came in. As we reviewed and cleaned the survey data, we ended with 3,587 cleaned survey responses. So that was a very strong number to see. As we look at the overall perceptions, it was shown through both future parents, staff, current parents, and community members, an overwhelmingly strong support for full-day kindergarten. You can see that in the first graphic here, that when we look at strongly support, and so the colors, as you get more green, that is stronger support. As you get more orange, that is less or negative support for this implementation. So you can see that strongly support had 75% of that overall total. As you look at it broken down by group, 88% of future parents support this, 75% of staff support this, 72% of current parents support this, and 63% of community members support moving forward with full-day kindergarten. When we asked them to agree or disagree with the statement being, I believe that a full-day kindergarten program would be beneficial too. So this is looking at who does it benefit, who does moving towards a full-day kindergarten program benefit. So when thinking about parents and guardians, of those that responded, there was a 79% agreement that it supports and is beneficial to parents and guardians. And as you can see, that trails off as you think about students, staff, and community members, both staff and community members being on the lower end of it being beneficial to them, on the higher end, of course, parents and guardians and students. When we look at responses from future parents, the majority of future parents would be somewhat to very likely to choose a full-day kindergarten program if offered. So looking at it, when we look across, again, that dark green being the strongly agree, when asked to rate how likely they would be to choose the following kindergarten option. So asked if they would choose full day or half day. 89% stated that they would strongly agree with selecting a full-day kindergarten program, while only 15% strongly agreed that they would select a half-day kindergarten program, with 47% strongly disagreeing with the selection of a half-day kindergarten program. When we asked if the district did not transition to a full-day kindergarten program, how likely would they be to enroll in a either private, charter school, kindergarten, full-day kindergarten program elsewhere? 48% stated that they would be very likely to leave the district or not attend the district, rather, and attend full-day kindergarten at a private or charter school, followed by somewhat likely being 19%. When we looked at responses from current parents, we found that nearly 1/3 of the current parents enrolled their child in a full-day kindergarten outside of the district. So when looking at it, we asked, was your child ever enrolled in a kindergarten program? 63% stated that they were enrolled in a half-day kindergarten. 2% indicated that they were enrolled in a half-day kindergarten program, but in a different district. 31% said yes, that they enrolled their child in a full-day kindergarten program in either a private school or a charter school or within a different district. And 3% stated that their child did not attend kindergarten. So these were from current parents with students in the district. We then asked if a full-day kindergarten had been available at the district, how likely would they have been to select that and enroll their child in that program? And 79% stated that they would be very likely to enroll their child or to have enrolled their child in that full-day kindergarten program. Finally, we asked about the benefits of full-day and half-day kindergarten. When asked what they consider the biggest benefits of moving towards a full-day kindergarten, it was overwhelmingly stated that it supports working parents, followed by better preparation for grade 1. So 60% of respondents stated that it would support working parents, and 44% stated that it would provide better preparation for students as they enter into first grade. When asked what the biggest benefit to continuing a half-day kindergarten program and not pursuing a full-day kindergarten opportunity within the district, overwhelmingly it was stated that it was a lower cost to the school district. That came in at 30% of respondents stated that it was a lower cost for the school district. The next two below that at 17% was less overwhelming for children and easier transition for young children. And one other thing to note within this is that as participants looked at the list, 40% said that there was no benefit, that none of these, and there was no benefit to a half-day kindergarten program. So that should be noted as well. Finally, I'll share the respondent demographics just to understand kind of who participated, again, as a reminder. So the pie chart on the left there shows respondents' relationship to the district. So in the green, the lighter green rather, is the community members with no affiliation. The darker green is the staff member in the school district. The lighter blue representing future parents or future students, parents of future students. And lastly, the darker blue represents the parent and guardians of current students. From there, because participants could select several different groups. We then prioritize them from there. And what you're seeing on the right is the prioritized groups used for this analysis. So again, after respondents selected one or more relationships, they were asked additional questions that were used to assign them to a specific group for the purposes of the analysis. So what you're seeing on the right is how that percentage count broke down and the specific count for each of those groups. So how 31% translates is 1,102 future parents participated. And another thing to note is that the order that these are presented in is how they were prioritized, wanting to hear from parents first and foremost. And then we share this chart to show representation of current parent responses. So you can see that 249 responses came from a parent who has a kindergarten age child. And families that had multiple children were asked to complete the survey and respond to the questions regarding their youngest child, so that, you know, we could capture potentially the grades that it would count most and that would be making these decisions for the future. And then finally, looking across the school sites, you can see how those counts break down and where participants came from. These were responses gathered from parents and staff. And with that, that concludes the presentation. I'm happy for our team to take any questions that you all might have.
All right, questions? Mr. Tate?
I think this is a simple one. Sorry, can you define future parents, please?
Sure. These are parents that would that will be registering a child either because they're moving into the district or they have a child that is getting ready for kindergarten.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? I'm sorry.
No, sorry. I wanted to just flag one other thing as it relates to the data cleaning. You know, again, just to let you all know kind of the background of how we clean this data to make sure that what we're presenting is the most clean data that we can. Know that all of our data goes through a very rigorous process. We examine all of the responses for their completeness, how quickly they were completed, the possibility of duplication or redundancy, so that we make sure that we are getting the most relevant data to present in an analysis. As we see the responses go through each of these examinations, any that hit multiple flags or are noted as potentially being those that seem questionable as far as are they complete, how quickly were they rushed through to complete, is it that there could be duplicated responses. So we go through and we clean everything and remove any responses that look questionable from the final analysis. And so for this specific survey, we started with 4,493 valid responses. And after cleaning, we retained 3,587, which was about a 20% drop and is often typical as you go through the data cleaning process.
Thank you. You actually answered two of my questions. Any other questions from the board members? Mr. Hickey?
First of all, thank you for doing the survey. Really appreciate the data that you sent. We received, as a board, a second sheet with percentages on them without the bar graph that was shaded.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's, okay, yeah, maybe, I just have a question about the first one. I'm not sure, said I'm not a math whiz, so, but maybe you can explain to me the first one with the question by group where it says strongly opposed. If you add up the percentages, they don't add up to 100%. Or if you go, like, for example, if you look at the future parent, it says 14% strongly opposed, 13 somewhat opposed, and only like 36 strongly support. That, like, they don't add up to 100%. Does that mean only 36% of future parents strongly support transitioning to a full-day kindergarten program? Or somehow I'm misreading this number?
I can go ahead and jump on in here. That's a really great question. When you're looking at it, we're looking more vertically. So of the strongly support group, that group, if you look up above, that was a total of 74% of the total of everyone. In the by group, we're saying of that 74%, 36% was comprised of future parents, 4% was comprised of staff, 35% was comprised of current parent, and 24% was comprised of community members.
Okay, so if I went to the first one where it's strongly opposed, it's 39% of current parents of that group, and then 46% of community members.
Yes, so of the strongly opposed, of the 429 respondents, 39% were attributed to current parents, 46% were attributed to community member, 1% was attributed to staff, and 14% were attributed to future parent. So it's more looking at it vertically now as a possible problem.
Okay, and that's true for every question on that survey?
For the by group, yes,
Right.
for those two pieces.
Because this is 100.
Okay, no, that makes a lot of sense. That was only, I have some comments, but they're not for Hanover, that's more for the group, so, thank you, appreciate it.
Yep, absolutely.
Are there any questions? Ms. Polly?
Okay, so when you explain the percentages, for example, you said that just the top line, 75% strongly support, where when you, or support, actually you use the word support, where the somewhat support plus the strongly support, they're both support. So the support would be the 74 plus 5%, so that would be 79, almost 80% if you look at the unsure, and then the opposed would be the 12 plus 5, so the 17%. So I think when we use the word support, we need to count the somewhat support and the strongly support, unless if we explicitly say strongly support versus somewhat support, correct? Because you use the word support, but you only refer to the strongly support subcategory.
Yes, so when you're looking at this, yes, you would want to, consider both of these. We highlighted specifically within this report the strongly supports, because that was the darker green color, the biggest chunk of this grouping here. But yes, you certainly want to consider both support and strongly support, as well as strongly not support and don't support. So yes, that's correct.
All right, thank you.
I did have a question on behalf of Ms. Osecki. I don't know if it's really relevant or if even if Hanover is able to answer it, but in regards to the last slide with the school site representation of parent and staff responses, she was wondering if there's any way to get like grade level information in terms of the schools. So let's say Churchville Elementary School, of the 270 parents that took the survey that are strongly supporting it, is that how we read that?
Are you referring to this? Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So yeah, that slide. So is that slide representation of parents that support it? So is it 270 parents that just took it, or is it just 270 parents in Goodnow that support it? I guess that's where.
Sure. So this represents both parents and staff, and this is the total number of responses that came from that school from both parents and staff that participated in the survey.
Okay, so then I guess our follow-up question since that's clarified, is in the data results, are you able to break it down any further? She was curious to see in, let's say again with Churchville, are you able to break it down to their, and I think maybe it was in that one? Yes, the other document, break it down to those that and Goodnow, okay. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
the other document, page 3, correct? So then we
Yeah.
can align that with the 270 responses.
So I think you're looking at two different things. What this one tells you here is how many, so of that total number, say for Goodnow, how many participated as a current parent, a future parent, and a staff member. These grades represent just the participation rate at each grade level overall, not specifically related to a specific school.
Okay, so but there isn't any data that specifies from the specific school, the strong support or somewhat likely, whatever the language is. There isn't, that data is not available, correct?
Correct, yeah, we did not provide that in this.
Okay, all right. I think that was just her question, just to clarify. Not that it matters, but I think that was just a question.
Sure.
Thank you. Polly?
So I asked this question, so the board knows the answer, but it would be good to state it in public. So I asked how these survey results compare with similar surveys done for other districts that were considered offering full-day kindergarten. And also, I think your response included a general shift in the preference for full-day kindergarten over time. Could you please repeat that response that you sent to us by mail? I would appreciate it.
Yeah, so I think I heard your question. I was having a little trouble hearing you, but I believe you were asking how do results from this compare to other surveys that we've done like this? Is that
correct?
Okay. So yeah, as we shared at the beginning, this survey had a very robust, very strong response rate. We have conducted other surveys similar to this to gather community interest in changing a district offering. And so one thing that we can say is that in looking at this and considering trends that we're seeing nationally, there is a notable shift towards full-day kindergarten among parents, educators, educational partners, and departments of education. So this survey and the results that we saw from this, couple things to note. Again, very strong response rate, very robust. We are seeing this very similarly, both in trends and what districts are talking about as far as having an interest in going towards a full-day kindergarten program.
Thank you.
I just have one final question, kind of following up with that. In terms of Hanover doing this, and this is kind of what you do as experts, do you think the 3,587 cleaned set of data for the survey is a good percentage, good representation based upon districts of our size, in your experience?
Yes, we do. Again, this was a very strong response rate for a district of your size compared to what we've seen from other districts. Yes, we would say this was a good size sample for this.
Great. Any other final questions from anyone? think that was excellent. Thank you so much for your presentation and the work compiling all this data. Very informative.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Matt, can you put them back up so we can thank them and send them on their way?
Did they log out?
Oh, no, we're still here.
We're trying to.
Jennifer, do you want to stop sharing?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yep.
Okay.
There we go.
Thank you so much. We appreciate all your hard work and efforts and timeliness. And I know the administration has complimented your work and communication and just being able to turn everything around and work seamlessly and literally turned it around in a matter of a few weeks with great data and great information. Thank you so much.
You're so very welcome, and thank you for the opportunity to present in front of you all today.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks, everybody.
Good evening.
Good luck.
Take care.
Great.
So are there any other questions related to full-day kindergarten before we move on to our next agenda item?
Mr. Hickey, did you have,
Well, I got them, yeah.
you do or don't?
I
No?
do.
Oh, okay.
Sure, I mean, as we go through this survey, I mean, I think it answers a lot of questions that I've raised personally throughout this. And I don't criticize the survey at all, but if you look at just some of the numbers, like for example, the very first question, do you support or oppose Council Rock transitioning to a full-day kindergarten? Yes, I do. But there's no context in that question. At what cost do we transition to a full-day kindergarten? If it's just a yes or no question, I answered that survey and sure, I support Council Rock transitioning to it, but I don't know what the cost of the transitioning is going to be. You got to weigh the pluses and the minuses of it. So there's actually no, you know, and if you look at the other ones, some of the other numbers here, most of the people that were asked, if you look at this survey, are people that have young kids or are going to have young kids. It's like 2,200 out of the 3,500 kids have kids in either third grade or less. So if you have a third grader, chances are you may have someone who's only 4 years old who's going to be going to school. Whereas if you look at the numbers as everything progresses, even the number of respondents, that number of respondents goes down with each successive year and grade. And I've always raised, the question that I've always raised as we're looking after a small quantity of students, and I think we might be losing sight of the bigger picture of what other things that we can be doing with our dollars. And maybe Mr. Barnes can analyze these things better than I can. But like I said, and the most glaring one I saw was, what do you consider the biggest benefits of Council Rock moving to a full-day kindergarten? 60% say supports working parents. I support working parents as well, but we're here to educate kids, and that falls maybe number 4, improved academic outcomes. Better preparation for first grade doesn't necessarily mean you're educating kids, it just means you're preparing them for first grade. Consistent daily routines is number 3. Improved academic outcomes falls all the way to number 4, almost by social interaction. Where I'm concerned is you have here, it supports working parents. And like I said, I support working parents and single families, and I understand what it takes to put a kid in the district here. But the job of our school district is to educate kids, not necessarily to find something for them as full-day kindergarten as opposed to half. And even the other numbers here, when they ask about enrolling your kids in kindergarten programs, you send them to a different school. If full-day kindergarten was available, of course, if full-day kindergarten was available for your child, I would have, everybody would send their kids to full-day kindergarten. But like I said, at what cost? And it appears from this data that even though that Council Rock doesn't offer full-day kindergarten, most still send their kids once they hit first grade, based on the data that is in here and the data that we're preparing for roughly a delta of 200 kids going to full-day kindergarten. So even though people, of course, if we don't offer full-day kindergarten and a parent has to provide, he wants full-day kindergarten for their child, of course they're gonna find another outlet. I mean, that's a common sense answer. But I'll stick, as it relates to this, that I don't think we're using our dollars wisely enough as just to support an all-day kindergarten, which has no perceived proven academic credentials. And most of the parents who answer this even agree that the reason they're doing this is to support them, and has really only 27% of the people believe there's going to be a positive academic outcome. And like I said, I'll have other reasons as well, but just sticking to the educational part and the survey, like I said, I think it only backs up what I've been saying for the last 4 months.
Okay, I think I want to respond just because it's fresh in my memory and that Ms. Polly wanted to speak. And just to respond to Mr. Hickey and someone, I just want to clarify that we're all reading this data in front of us properly. So in terms of who took the survey, it's only those it's on page 4, that bar graph, the grade representation of current parent responses. If you note in the note, and also that the presenter Dara, I believe, stated, if there was someone in the district that had 4 children, they wanted the survey of their youngest child. So even though the graph states, and there were only 38 parents that have a senior that took this survey, that's their youngest, correct?
Right.
The grade level of their youngest child.
Correct.
So if you have a 3-year-old, he's not in a grade, or a 4-year-old, he's not in a grade. My point is, most of the people, if I have a child, if I have multiple children, and I have a first grader, and my youngest child in school is in first grade, I might have 2 other ones at home who will be going to first grade, so this is going to impact my decision as well. It's all a matter of the context and how the question is being asked.
I mean, I agree in terms of context, but in terms of we have to talk about the right context as well, right? That's factually. So we're talking about a small quantity, Mr. Hickey, that you mentioned of students or families that it would impact. So based upon this survey, 47% of our students, which is half our kindergarten population, don't attend currently our school district because we don't offer full day. Correct? So that's a small quantity. You're saying, so half is a small. And I don't know what your definition of a small quantity is. Is it 40 students at Sloan? Is it 500 kindergarten students in the District of Council Rock? Is it the 1,500 special education students? What's a small quantity that would impact, I guess, your thinking in this? In terms of parents that take this survey, when you're talking about the supporting working parents, this is all the respondents. So this is also going to include community members that, they would probably say potentially that it's going to support working parents. Maybe they don't see necessarily the better preparation for grade first, but this is for everyone that took the survey. Correct. Okay. Ms. Stone, then Ms. Polly.
I understand what you're saying because we're breaking out these numbers, but the survey was sent out and reached a large number of people in the community. And these are the people that chose to respond, all right? And it shows a trend. And the trend here is that they're supporting kindergarten. So this is one piece of information that we can use to make the decision. The other piece is our administration has supported it and done research on it. We have seen a lot of research on the benefits as well. So this is a piece of the data, looking at what our community is looking to do. And another piece is how the administration feels. And then the research that we have all read and done, and some of us don't agree with your conclusion, which is fine. That's why,
Perfect. That's why we have the
yeah,
discussion.
that's why we're having
However,
a discussion.
I will say, and I don't want to put them on the spot, I don't know if the administration, and I don't believe they've said one way or another, whether they agree or disagree. We charged the administration with investigating this. We didn't say, hey, administration, do you support or oppose all-day kindergarten? We didn't ask that question of them. We asked them, we are investigating full-day kindergarten. Find us the information.
We had several meetings on kindergarten where people talked about all the benefits of full-day kindergarten. We had those discussions.
Oh, the teachers.
All the data is out, not just the teachers. The research was presented.
No.
All of our meetings.
You specifically claimed that the administration is in support of all-day kindergarten.
Because their presentation has been supported with supportive information. And going out and seeing how it is at other schools and the benefits that those people have seen. So, this is only one piece, and I think it's a strong argument in favor from the community. And they know the cost, because we've gone through the costs many times in our budget, what the cost would be. So those who strongly oppose may certainly be strongly opposed because they know the cost. But don't say they're making a decision not using the cost. The kids, people without children can be making a decision based on many things. The dollar cost or the benefit to society as a whole. I mean, I don't have children going into kindergarten, but I feel it's a benefit to society to prepare the future of our kids. So, and that's what I believe that the data has shown.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you, Ms. Polly.
Yeah, I think Linda covered a lot of what I was thinking of saying, but Mr. Hickey, I just want to remind you that when we started this discussion, you were never in support of full-day kindergarten. I never remember you once, and I can go back and listen, before we even knew of the cost, because we had not done the financials. So I don't know if you have changed your mind in the process, that would be very welcome, but I remember very well you opposing it pretty much every time we spoke about it. Then I think in terms of like asking about the money here, this is an educational survey. Do you support full-day kindergarten or not? It's up to the board to determine whether financially it would make sense to offer it. So, and we also, together with the administration, we determine whether it is to the benefit, because we want educational excellence that starts in kindergarten and continues throughout all the school years. So, to me, this survey says that our community supports full-day kindergarten. And it comes from different groups. It comes from current parents, future parents, community members, staff, and also the question about one of the benefits, and we had that supports working parents. Just to remind you, when we answered that question, you can only choose 3 things. This was one of the things I chose because I support working parents. This is one of my top priorities. I also believe that you prepare them for the future. They're better prepared for first grade. So I think a lot of people can look at the survey with different eyes, but to me, this survey says our community overwhelmingly supports what we're considered doing and offering.
With no caveats included, and I'll follow up your statement with only 27% of the people who were asked by this survey believe in improved academic outcomes. 27% out of 100% believe in improved academic outcomes. Supporting working parents was 60%. But sticking to education without mentioning any of the other items which we'll discuss at a future meeting, including probably tomorrow night. Academic outcome being improved, 27%. And as far as the survey goes, chances are, you can say what you want about the elderly or whatever, and I know that we tried to get them to senior centers, but who is more likely to go onto Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram or any of the places where this survey was listed? And this is no cut to anybody because you did put out that survey to wherever it may go. But go talk to your neighbors out in the street that are 60, 65, 70 years old. So I'm sorry, most of them aren't on Facebook. Most of them probably don't even know how to use an email or an iPhone, or maybe, maybe not even an iPhone, a phone that you hold in your hand without a cord attached to it. So, like I said, most of the people who were asked are people who are going to directly benefit from this, as far as, what they're going to get out of it. But I'll stick to my original point and my main point, that the job of a school district is to educate kids. And there's no proof that adding full-day kindergarten will educate kids any better than half-day or no kindergarten at all. And I'll stick to that, and because there's no proof that an all-day kindergarten improves academic outcomes. And I'd be really curious, since we're in an academic setting right now, I would really love to see that PSSA data from our new language program, the Wonders program, to see if what we're actually doing in the classroom is actually improving our grades, as opposed to just sitting them in the classroom for a longer period of time.
Well, I think the PSSA data we've already covered in previous meetings doesn't come out till, this year's PSSA data won't come out till the fall. But I know Ms. Horner, Ms. Polly, Ms. Tate, and then if we could just wait to be addressed so those listening at home can understand who's speaking, that would be great, even if it's in response. Thank you. Ms. Horner?
Okay. The survey is a great start. As I've started from the beginning, I've always been for full-day kindergarten. We need a lot of data. A lot of research has to be done. This is a start. And this is a start to say that parents support it or the community supports it. But how many of them know about cost, know about the current educational system, know about staffing, know about the size of the classrooms? I'm sure a lot of them they don't know. And I think that needs to be done. The other question too is, where's the responses? They had opportunities to put in responses. You were able to put in information.
I have those right here.
You have those, okay.
So one is the biggest benefits of moving to full day, and one is continuing to only offer half day. After just a cursory review, the full day, it would appear many of these responses, and you're welcome to look at them, do talk about the academic piece in here. Because again, this was an open end, and if I can remind you of the question, I have a copy of the survey here somewhere, just to remind you of the question that was asked. In the space below, please provide any additional thoughts, comments about full-day kindergarten. So these are verbatim responses. They did not clean these. The only way they would have removed anything from here is if it was redundant, and she explained the data scrubbing. So you're welcome to take a look at those if you'd like, or you can email them to me.
Yeah, that would be great. Because then going on to this would be like, do they understand, what's our current reality in our district as a whole? We have class sizes. Do they understand how many children would be in a kindergarten? And this is something that's come up, is are we taking those kindergarten classrooms away from our 4th, 5th, and 6th graders to make larger class sizes? That's going to affect and disrupt the class sizing and the learning education within those 4th, 5th, and 6th graders' classrooms.
Could you respond to that, Dr. Sanko, please?
So we have classroom guidelines, class size guidelines. So there has been no discussion about changing any class size guidelines. And there's a continuum in grades K through 2. The class size guideline is 25. In grade 3, it's 26, and 28 in 4, and help me here, Nicole. 30 in 5 and 6. So with adding full-day kindergarten, it would not change our formula to determine the number of students per classroom.
So they're not taking away any of those class sizes to make the other classrooms larger.
No. We would not increase the number of students in a 1st grade or a 6th grade outside of those class size guidelines.
Mr. Tate?
No, I have to respond to this first.
I'm sorry? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Ms. Polly, then Mr. Tate, sorry.
I just want to clarify, and we can follow up with Hanover. So the question, what do you consider the biggest benefits of full-day kindergarten? And the 60% is supports working parents. It doesn't mean exactly what you said, Mr. Hickey, because you cannot, a parent or a person who has filled out the survey, they cannot check everything that they think benefits. There was a limit how many you can check. And that means that you cannot say that you cannot prioritize it like that. So assuming you only have 3 choices, and even when you said that, they cannot ask you to prioritize which of the 3 is most important. So maybe they can give us a better way of explaining the answer to this question, since they did not let anybody check everything, all the possible options.
We can certainly follow up with them about that.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Tate and then Ms. Stone.
Yeah, I had a related thought to what Ms. Pelly just said. I thought it was interesting. It jumped out at me right away that the number 1 response was supports working parents. And I thought, well, of course, if I was a working parent, I'd say, first thing that would occur to me is, wow, that'll really help me out a lot in terms of my daily schedule, my finances. So they're being honest. It helps out. But that doesn't mean that the same parents who said that is one of their 3 choices didn't also think that full-day kindergarten will also better prepare my kid for 1st grade, will also improve academic outcomes and so forth and so on. And oh, by the way, the fact that this was the number 1 response in the survey doesn't change my number 1 motivation. My number 1 motivation is academics. I'm convinced from what I've heard from our staff and seen with the research, it's going to benefit kids academically in many ways. The data is not conclusive because there's not a whole lot of studies out there, recent studies about the impact of full-day kindergarten, but I'm confident that it will benefit kids, and that is my number 1 personal reason for supporting full-day kindergarten. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stone.
Keep in mind, those that are saying that they are going to support working families, there are a group in here that are paying for their children to be in a full-day program because they can afford it. So I think it behooves us to make sure that families that need to work and can't afford a full-day program are not penalized by not being able to afford their child to get that full-day support. So, it's not that there are many people that are paying for a full-day program because they can't get it at Council Rock. And it's a shame that the families that can't afford it are even more stymied by not being able to have a second parent working.
Thank you, Ms. Stone. I guess I have a couple comments in regards to, we talked about the 60% supporting working families. Full-day kindergarten would be fully academic. Yes, it also happens to support working families. A full-day kindergarten, we've discussed in the last 5 months the pros and cons of all of this through financial, facilities, impact on the district as a whole, and the academic excellence that it would bring to the district. In terms of supporting working families, I don't understand why we wouldn't support working families. I think that is definitely a benefit of having full day. This, as Ms. Stone had stated, some parents that are working still can't afford full-day kindergarten. And if you do afford full-day kindergarten, whether that's, we don't know what that facility is, and we don't know what the opportunity, resources, education that they receive. With Council Rock, we know that all the students, regardless of working parents, not working parents, their affordability, everyone would have the same access and equal opportunity to the excellent education that we all came to Council Rock for and still remain to this day, regardless whether you have students or not within this district. That's one. And then I think I was looking again, we've had quite a bit of robust discussion about the 3 options. Yes, it supports working parents at 60%, but if you really look at the other items, better preparation for grade 1, consistent daily routines, improved academic outcomes, social interaction, early identification of learning achievement, higher student achievement, comprehensive education, a love of learning, achievement gaps, more teacher attention. All of that is part of the school and academic educational experience. So if you want to tally all of that, that's far greater than 60%. So, that's another way of looking at it, not in terms of like the micro itty bitty exactly that it was only 60% or a great 60% of parents that supports kindergarten because they're working. I think, like I said, and Mr. Tate had stated, it's a benefit, and it is supporting our community. And it provides, again, that same equal opportunity and education for all our students, starting with the youngest. Thank you. I did have a quick question for administration. In terms of, there was some discussion about, who took the survey, how did they get the survey? We didn't get to survey anyone. Just from my experience, having watched and attended board meetings over the last 3 to 4 years, the 3,587 in this data set, that's the clean survey based upon the Hanover research. From the administration's perspective and history of taking community surveys, is that one of the higher numbers that you've had for participation? I know a couple years ago for the calendar, I vaguely remember somewhere around like the 2,000.
So the community will probably, many in the community will probably remember some surveys that we've put out. Most recently, this survey put out by Hanover. You heard Hanover say that this is a large sample size. We've put out the survey for calendars, asking the community before, after Labor Day, 3 or 5 day spring break. I don't know the exact number on that, but that was in the 2,000 range. And prior to that, the previous administration put out a survey, an alumni survey, and we were somewhere in the 3,000 range on that survey. We worked with a company called Qualtrics at that time, and Qualtrics believed that that was a relatively solid sample size as well.
Right, appreciate it. And I think Mr. Hickey actually does bring up a good point. We've never had heard from administration saying, yes, we do support full-day kindergarten. As educators and administrators, I guess many of the board colleagues assume that you would support education. Full-day kindergarten is an educational initiative that benefits, our students. But that's an interesting statement that Mr. Hickey has raised. So.
Of which I don't want an answer.
You don't want an answer?
I don't want the administration's opinion on this.
Okay.
No,
well, you brought up the question, so.
Right, no, because someone claimed that the administration supports it. That's the only reason I brought it up. The administration never came out and supported it or not supported it. We tasked them with the job, and I appreciate the job that you did. I just didn't want anybody putting words into your mouth positively or negatively.
Holly, did you have something to say?
Well, I guess we all interpret things our own ways. And my interpretation is that the administration is supportive, and other people on this board feel the same, but if you think it's not, it's your own understanding and perception of it. I mean, we have the data, we have the research, but, people choose to, believe what they want to believe, which is fine.
Ms. Stone?
I don't take lightly the statistics of how many schools, districts do have full-day kindergarten in the state of Pennsylvania. We've talked about these numbers over and over again. And I don't believe that the administrations of those school districts, which represent over 85% of the schools in Pennsylvania, I don't think those administrations have willy-nilly made those decisions to have, to be supportive of a full-day kindergarten program. I think that that's another indication that it is beneficial. None of those districts have taken full-day programs and eliminated them. And I think it behooves us to use all the data that we have from all sources to come to a decision.
I'm glad you brought that point up.
Mr. Hickey.
I'm glad you brought that point up. Because currently, and I'm saying currently, the top school district in the state does not have full-day kindergarten. And the top school district in our county does not have full-day kindergarten. Now, I know they're transitioning to full-day kindergarten, but at present, they do not have full-day kindergarten. And so there's no guarantee that it's going to make them a better school district or a worse school district. And the reasons for transitioning to all-day kindergarten, at least in the case locally, it's more than just transitioning to an all-day kindergarten. They're strictly not doing it just for that reason. And as a matter of fact, Central Bucks has pushed off their all-day kindergarten until 2026, yet we're going to try to implement it in 2025, and we started the process a full year later. But the two top districts in the school, one in the state and one in Bucks County, neither one of them offer full-day kindergarten presently.
So.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Stone, and first of all, please wait till to be recognized by the chair. And I also wanted to recognize, I believe Ms. Oseki's on the line?
Yes, I am.
All right, good evening, Ms. Oseki. We're clearly in the discussion of full-day kindergarten still. Ms. Stone, did you want to comment before Ms. Stone makes, and then I think Mr. Tate?
No, I just I'll wait.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Stone?
I just wanted to say, but they are planning to put it in place, and you do know that it's over 85% of the schools in Pennsylvania. Is that correct?
I'm not a person who likes to do what everybody else is doing just for the sake that everybody else is doing it.
Well, that's why.
And that's why, like you said, I realize it.
I've asked now 3 times.
I realize it in minority here.
Conversations to be recognized instead of those that are listening at home to just hear this banter back and forth. It's much more productive if one person speaks, wait to be called upon and to be able to speak. Mr. Tate, did you have your hand up earlier or you? Okay, and then Ms. Horner. Thank you.
I was just going to clarify that at Central Bucks, I know they decided to postpone by a year. Regretfully, I read, and the reason they are postponing is because what they're doing is a much more extensive makeover of their grade alignments in terms of middle school and elementary school. I think they're moving 6th grade to middle school, and they're rearranging their sending patterns, and they're doing a whole lot more than just first full-day kindergarten. So it's a horse of a different color, apples and oranges, whatever worn-out metaphor you want to use.
Thank you. Ms. Horner?
Right, and cost is an issue, and that's why they're doing it.
Yeah.
But my thing is, this is Council Rock, and we've got to do the best educational decision for all. That's what we need to do.
Okay. I think we're ready to move on, Ms. Crawford.
Thank you. Mr. Devlin?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I just wanted to bring up some of the Penn data that was brought up at our last education committee meeting. Penn data is a rather large look at a special education program. So we're going to kick off next year's first parent advisory meeting with a Penn data review. We'll go deep into what Penn data does and how we use it in our school districts. Penn data is going to align perfectly with our special education plan, which is due next June. Also, I was notified middle of the week last week that our cyclical monitoring will occur next year with a concentration in our indicator 13, which is our transition program for special education students. It's important to know that, again, Penn data, we use that to assist us in our targets for what we need to do for improving programs for our students. We look at, although there are maybe 16, 17 indicators that are driven by the Office of Special Education, in Pennsylvania, we look at 11 of those indicators, and it's monitored again based on what the Office of Special Education asks the states to look at in terms of their state performance plan and for annual performance reviews. At a first real quick glance of our Penn data, one of the things I want to mention that we did have some areas of needs. One of them was in the PSSA, mainly with our students taking the PSSA in special education. So we just need help. I need to do a better job, I suppose, in supporting parents to tell them, look, we need to have our children all take these state standardized assessments. Secondly, when we look at our state assessments in terms of special education, we are well above the state average of our standardized assessments in all grades. As a matter of fact, in one of our grades, I believe it's 4th grade, Mr. Barnes, maybe you can help me out too, the amount of the percentage of special education students advanced or proficient is higher than general education in that same grade.
4th grade.
4th grade. So I just wanted to share with the board, education committee, that next year, our kickoff meeting for our special education group will be a full deep dive in the Penn data.
Questions for Mr. Devlin?
Could you put this slide?
Can you put, yeah, just go back to the slide. So I guess in terms of, so a special education parent advisory meeting or committee? So is that?
It'll be a meeting. It'll be a
Okay.
meeting, so it's gonna be open to all the special education parents, anybody who wants to come just to learn about it. But don't forget, I'm glad that you brought up the committee, because I sought some volunteers to help me with the special education plan. We have over 40 volunteers for that, so that will be also helping.
Okay.
And we will also rapidly grow that.
Okay, and this will be the fall, so I'm assuming September's meeting?
September.
Okay, potentially, okay. That's great. Any other questions?
Thank you. Thank you
Honor?
so much for opening this up and starting to do this. It's much needed, and thank you for taking the feedback from me.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
Anyone else?
Just feel it went very fast.
We only had 2 items on there.
Yeah, so there is the Special Ed Parent Advisory Committee, and then there is this meeting that will be specifically for the review. The advisory committee is a selected group of parents, right? How do you go about that?
So we have I've been meeting with special education parents, everybody, any special education parent who wants to come in to talk about the programs and the offerings and the support and so forth in special education. That's what we're going to do. That's this meeting.
Okay.
I did solicit volunteers from our special education parents for those who would like to be on the committee to help develop the special education plan, which is due in June of 2025.
Okay.
Of course, we're going to use that same data for that special education plan, but all parents should see what the Penn data has to say, if that answers your question.
So I guess I need some clarification, maybe some further explanation. Where this Penn data, where is it coming from? And then in the 3rd bullet, it talks about assist in targeting needs and improving the programs. So is the Penn data review that will be presented in fall, is that kind of like in terms of they're coming in to do an audit, or it's the data is based upon?
The data is based upon, so each year, 2 times a year, we submit data to the state, to the Office of Special Education. We call it the 12-1 count, where we send all of our students who have active IEPs, and they ask a bunch of different questions, different fields. It's a lot of information. And then July, we call it the July submission for those students who are exiting special education, new to special education, and we send up data regarding transition and discipline. So what happens is that after the 12-1 count, all that information is gone through up at the state, and they make what they call the Penn data review. And then they put a listing out based on indicators such as graduation, dropout rate, assessments, suspension, expulsion, things of that nature. Then they have a big rating, they take the state average, and then this Office of Special Education Programming in Washington, D.C., then looks at all the average state data. And they make what they call state performance profiles and the annual performance review. And then they have a specific target that they want each state to make.
Okay. So then who will assist in targeting and improving our programs based upon the review?
So based upon the review, again, we're just going to show everybody where we are. Then we're going to use the special education plan to say, look, do we have an area of need that we can do things a little bit better? That's when we're working with the committee. Say, what can we do internally to boost up, say, professional development or access to educational environments and so forth in that special education plan.
Okay. So working and collaborating with a special advisory committee and or additional parents, or will there be, let's clarify this, simplify it a little bit. Will there be a parent advisory committee for special education?
So what we're going to have in the special education plan, there needs to be a committee that's comprised of all state members, stakeholders, and that's who's going to be on that.
So yes?
Yes.
Okay. And then they will help looking at, or they will look at the data and then assist in improving the plan where it needs? Or having some input?
Yes, so we input. That's why we need to have a large committee. And what I shared with the team the last time is that we noticed that, I think it may have been done during COVID, shortly after COVID, there weren't a lot of community members on that team. So I want to ensure that we have a lot of community members on the team as we go forward with the special education plan.
Are there any outside resources that we would be using once it's identified which programs and what needs we may
Definitely.
need?
So when I mentioned the cyclical monitoring, that's going to be kicking off in September. So a group of myself and supervisors and the transition coordinator needs to take advantage of the Schoology courses offered by Hatton that help us develop what's going to happen with the monitoring. Also, we're going to have some folks from the intermediate unit come out for that as well. This cyclical monitoring also involves some people from the state and so forth. So yes.
Patton and Bucks County on intermediate? Okay, that's great. Great. That's exciting. Thank you so much. Any other questions or Ms. Stout? Sorry.
Yeah, what is the makeup of this advisory board in terms of, is it?
So we need to have a committee for the special education plan, and that is teachers, administrators, and parents.
Okay.
And that is who's on that team. That is called the committee that we need to use to make that special education plan. Similar to a committee that was used to make the comprehensive plan.
So is it an even number of parents and administrators? So there's no specific guideline?
There's no specific guideline.
Is it a decision-making committee, or who is the final decision makers?
So the final decision makers is going to be, we as administrators make that final call with the input.
Okay.
Yes.
It's not a decision-making committee.
No, we're just making the plan. That needs to then be submitted to the Bureau for approval.
If I could add, Tom Lawrence, if I could add just a brief bullet for this presentation on Penn data. First of all, thanks for having me back. I'm glad I'm not presenting graphs tonight after the pie charts and all the good stuff I saw from Hanover tonight. But wanted to started taking a look at this a few days ago and just kind of going into some of the concerns that were raised. Penn data not only helps in the capacities that Mr. Edlund mentioned, but they are public record. So somebody can just go in and take a look, so they might become subject matter for board meetings. So understanding those indicators is going to have some value to anybody who wants to use them or wants to share them. They have very good strengths to them, they have some limitations and concerns that as I started getting into the data, I started generating graphs, and then let's just have a class on this. So I know everybody loves math, so in addition to that, I would encourage you to come to that meeting or avail yourself of the resources that come out of that meeting, just because people can get this information, bring them to you, and ask you questions about them, and you have to address some of those fundamental issues, because they have programmatic implications, and we thought it best just that everybody gets a consistent message, a consistent chance to ask questions, and then maybe set up some monitoring so that we can be tracking these things on an ongoing basis, so that there are the answers available at the present moment. So that was my additional plug for that presentation, the value of it. Because it is a significant piece of community data for a very important segment of our students.
Thank you, thank you. Ms. Polly?
So the last bullet point, state assessment scores significantly exceed state average. Is that's not the PSSA, right?
It is, it's a PSSA and the Keystone. So the targets there are targets that are set by OSEP, the Office of Special Education Programming, that sets targets, that's an average of 50 states and where they want students to be as they progress. They want everybody to maybe be pretty accomplished. Now, if we look at the state average in terms of PSSAs for students, classified students, in math, so to speak. One of those scores, the state average was like 5%. We were like well over that, maybe 15%. One of the scores, each score in terms of the state average, our students do phenomenally well here. But we're gonna make sure they do better, but they do much better than the state average.
And we're going to review this data
Oh yeah,
when it comes out?
Yes.
Is it in September?
Yes, yes, in September.
Okay. And go ahead and I'll come back to you.
Stop.
When the new data comes out, is it possible to see the change in the scores over the last 5 years? And I know COVID probably, with those tests done during those years?
So Mr. Barnes and I have already been looking into it, but I'm telling you, there's a lot of data, there's a lot of interpretation, there's a lot of tentacles that go out, and it's not, this is not the forum right now to get into all it, because it's just not enough time. We want to really do a deep dive and make it make sense to everybody. I mean, when Tom says it's like a class, it's a class.
So once you get that data,
Yes.
you are going to
Yes.
put
Yes.
together a whole.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Polly?
Okay, so going back, so there is the Special Education Parent Advisory Committee that will work on creating the plan that needs to be finalized by June.
The Special Education Plan Committee.
Right. Okay. And there is the meeting that will be open to all. Is there also going to be an advisory committee for special education parents independent of working on the plan?
So I meet with parents, I try to meet with them regularly, every couple months to go over what we're doing in our programs to offer them information. I'm going to continue to do so.
Right, because I know Dr. Sango was the first superintendent that started that in our district, and I know his commitment in special ed. My understanding was this is going to continue.
Yes.
I just did not see it as a bullet point, so I wanted to clarify.
So the Special Education Parent Advisory, the focus next year will be on the special education plan that's due to PD in June of 2025. Excuse me.
So she's part of that, or, I mean, I'm just getting confused.
Column number one, we're going to do a separate and distinct as Tom said, class on the Penn data, right? We will continue to offer information sessions for our special ed families, and the special education parent advisory that we have put in place. Our focus for next year will be on the special education plan that is due to PDE in 2025. So those folks that are involved in that will have 3 or 4 meetings throughout the course of next school year, and the focal point will be on the special education plan that's due in June of 2025.
Question. Okay, so how does it compare with remember last time you said you can have an informal meeting with
Yes,
parents?
and that's an addition. That's an
Okay.
addition.
And that will be more structured, so people can, you can say, you can have a schedule that every, 2 months or whatever, you have an informal meeting with the parents, and that will be announced and people can
Yes,
come.
oh yeah,
and
that would
discuss.
definitely schedule, yes. I would like to
Okay.
do it, yes, maybe a little bit less, more than every 2 months.
Right, okay, yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Okay, and I just want to share that although historically we have not held committee meetings for Education Committee, in August, we are, this coming August, just right before school starts, August 22nd. We do not have any agenda items confirmed because this summer our team is going to meet with Ms. Khan and discuss proposed topics for the coming school year. So we look forward to holding that meeting at that time. And that is it.
Great. We have public comment. Anyone here wanting to wish to make public comment, if you would please limit your time to agenda items in 3 minutes. Please state your name and township.
Priscilla Lincoln, Upper Makefield, I'm a grandma and a retired educator, 40 years service in public schools and overlapping 20 years of university education. It's time for Council Rock School District to come into the 21st century by offering full-day kindergarten. I've listened to these meetings, I've heard the research presented on the benefits of full-day kindergarten. I've heard you analyze the cost, the bus schedules, the placements, the staffing. You're at the point of analysis paralysis. Make a decision, and I hope it is for full-day kindergarten. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Nicole Gilchrist from Township. First, I want to thank you for talking about the Penn data. It's not a humble brag, it's something that I've been talking about for a while, so it's an information session that I'll be interested in seeing. I know I shared Penn data with the entire board and the administration. I'll be excited to look at it in more detail. I'm a little disappointed that some of the basic numbers weren't, as a non-statistician parent are able to quickly pull together some things to show you. I'm kind of disappointed that we couldn't just do a quick overview. Some of the things that I shared with you already, the single best indicator go on. So in other words, the Department of Ed shares it on Penn data, .org, I think it is. And if you go, the thing that you most easily find is inclusion rates. And that's because inclusion rates are the single best indicator for literally every single other special education data point for reading scores, math scores, attendance, graduation rates, post-graduation employment, everything. So if you go to that, the best single indicator, if you want to just quickly look at how your special education program is doing, is inclusion rates. Our inclusion rates have been below Pennsylvania target for 8 out of the 8 years, below Pennsylvania average for 7 out of the 8 years. And that's an easy thing to look at. You can see that in a couple minutes. When asked about it, we're told that we'll do a special education plan next year, and I'm happy that parents will be included in that. When the state comes in to look at our data, you'll put in corrective action. Council Rock was put into corrective action for their inclusion rates in 2019. And here we are, still not meeting average or basic. So when the state comes in for cyclical monitoring, they will force the district to go into corrective action like Council Rock was put into in 2019 We had a plan, we were out of corrective action in 2020, and again, our inclusion rates are not improving, they actually took a dive. So I think our kids deserve a more proactive approach. I think we don't, educational excellence to me is not having the state come in and force us into corrective action when we do our cyclical monitoring. Proactive plan is educational excellence. We have 1,700 children in special education. They don't deserve this. They don't deserve us waiting for the state to come in and force us to come up with a plan next year.
30 seconds.
Thank you. So I just ask, like, I don't mean to be ungrateful, but my kids' time is passing, other children's time is passing. We know the numbers, it's a simple number, inclusion rates, first page on there. We know we gotta work on it. Second, thank you for all of your questions on the parent advisory committee. Information sessions are not an advisory committee. They're just not. The special education plan committee is not an advisory committee. Other districts have an advisory committee. The state also has a book on what an advisory committee is, so I urge you to review that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Teresa Stone, Newtown Borough. I would just like to echo what Nicole said, and I've come to these meetings and special education was discussed, and I tend to leave with more questions than answers. I'm a little bit concerned about the lack of parents being able to come to the table for engagement in the form of a special education parent advisory committee. I think there's some confusion. These are information sessions that are being offered to parents. It's not for parents to come to the table and work collaboratively with the district. That is what a special education advisory committee is. I'm a little bit disappointed because I think it's part of the comprehensive plan, if I'm correct, that the district will have a parent special education advisory committee, and I'm a little confused as to why there's so much pushback with that. So I really would like to have more clarification, because the information sessions I've been to, and there's really no time for question and answers at the end. We keep submitting questions and they're not answered. So I'm confused about the pushback, and I'd like more clarification on that.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.